TG Geeks, episode 211, March 4th, 2019. Young people and community and transformation. Hello and welcome to another webcast from tggeeks.com, where Ben and Keith, the Two Gay Geeks, talk about all aspects of geekdom and nerdery, sci-fi, comics, film, horror, genre. You name it, we talk about it. If it's in the geekosphere, we're going to talk about it. I'm Keith Lane, and we're coming to you from TG Squared Studios in lovely Phoenix, Arizona. I can actually say that now.
Yes, you can. And I'm Ben Raggington, Ben Noir from the multiverse, here in Phoenix, Arizona.
Yeah. So we have a really exciting show for you this time, so we're going to just get right to it.
Prepare for hyperdrive.
Meanwhile, in the Hall of Episodes, the Two Gay Geeks are discussing this.
We've got an interview with Mr. Lee Kolinsky. He is up in the northeast part of the country, New Jersey-ish, if you will.
New Jersey-ish.
New Jersey-ish. And he's going to tell us about a film that he is in the process of making. Have our birthday shout-outs, our featured podcast of the week, and as everyone's favorite, the feedback segment. And in our second segment, we're going to talk about a couple of things that we found interesting this week, and then the weekly recap, wow, as well as our follow-up items. So we're going to get right to that interview with Mr. Lee Kolinsky. And this time we have on the show Mr. Lee Kolinsky, who is a writer-producer of 713 Films. Welcome to the show, Lee.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. So why don't you tell us about who is Lee Kolinsky, where you are, how you kind of got in the business, and what you got going, and all that kind of stuff. And, of course, we're going to interrupt you about 27 times while you're saying all of that.
That's awesome. Yeah, the hardest question is the first one of who you are, right?
Exactly.
So, let's see. I'm a writer. I've been a professional writer for, I guess, many years at this point. Started off as a newspaper writer.
Oh, cool.
Worked my way, basically a weekly local paper. Kind of worked my way up to Columbia House DVDs. If you ever saw like. Buy 10 DVDs for a penny.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I've done that several times.
Oh, Lord God.
Right, which is a total model that eventually failed because nobody wanted to pay for the other DVDs.
I did. I kept my membership for about 5 years after it was over. I guess I'm the only one.
Yeah, they made all their money off of you.
Yeah, that's it.
Right. That's so funny. Yeah, so then eventually, after I left there, I started writing a lot of technical content, pretty much manufacturing content, marketing stuff. And I always had a thing for film and writing screenplays. And I guess prior, I owned my family owned a video store.
Oh, cool.
So I watched thousands of movies, so it was just like a playland for me, and I just wanted to learn how to write and create my own movies one day, which at some point I was able to do a couple of years back. So ever since then, I've been just trying to create projects, hopefully get them in production and put them out on Amazon, get them distributed anywhere I could.
Right.
We work with we speak to a lot of people who are independent filmmakers, independent writers, etc., and I'm sure we also have that audience too. So for their benefit, what was your breakthrough? How did that come about?
Well, for me, it was just a connection. Actually, my dad, he knew a local filmmaker over here in Long Island, and he was looking for a screenwriter at the time, and I sent him a couple of scripts, and he liked one of them, which was called The Blue Lizard, and we eventually made that. It was a club movie. Guy stole money, and another guy was trying to investigate it and figure out, like, who took it. Wound up being his ex-girlfriend, so spoiler there. But the movie did pretty good until we had a deal with, I guess, Sean Combs at one point, his crew. He was trying to get into movies. This was back in 2000, 2002. So we were trying to get that out there, and unfortunately it just got shelved. So that was the start of my career.
Wow, how auspicious.
Yeah.
Right, yeah, it was sort of like a full start, but it worked out eventually because I kept on writing and recrafting and eventually finding another film to do, which was called Send No Flowers, and that starred Sean Young. I'm not sure if you guys know.
Oh,
her.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we're familiar with who she
So,
is.
yeah. Yeah, that's great. I mean, you know, a lot of people, at least that I've spoken to, kind of always like, oh, I don't know who she is. Is she from... Eventually, I'm like, oh, Ace Ventura, and she's like, no way. They're like, no way. So,
Blade Runner.
cool, but
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, Blade Runner.
For those of us of an age.
Right, exactly. I would say Blade Runner, and people are like, oh, I don't know.
And Dune.
Ace Ventura. Yeah. That's right in.
Dune?
But, yeah, Dune, No Way Out.
Oh, she was in Dune.
Yeah.
That's right, I forgot.
Silly.
Yeah.
Silly boy.
Okay, I gotta turn to my geek card now.
Right. So, you know, we, worked with her. This was after her, I guess, episodes back in the day. So everyone would ask, you know, how was she on set? Because apparently she, like, crashed some Hollywood parties and stuff like that back in the day. So,
Wow.
Didn't know.
yeah, so it was just one of those things. So, yeah, it was good. It was a good experience, and we were able to get that one distributed and put out on, like, Time Warner and Comcast, and it's on Amazon now. You can pretty much find it and watch it there. It's a pretty cool independent movie.
Cool.
Mafia film. She stars in it.
Yeah. So, where are you? What are you doing now? I mean, do you have some projects in the irons in the fire, shall we say?
Right. So typically I was doing fiction stories. So we kind of made a change when I started working with my partner Joseph Halsey and created 713 Films. It's only been about 2 years since we created this company, and we started with a documentary called Generation Change, and that's pretty much where we're at. It takes place in Trenton, New Jersey, and we speak to a bunch of kids from that area who talk about what they would do to change their city if they were the mayor of Trenton.
Right.
So that area in general is a little run down and has a lot of problems. So we went in there and wanted to see what we could do to kind of help out and promote change for that area, among other areas in New Jersey, which is on our plan. My partner Joe is from Trenton, so that's where we kind of started there.
Okay.
So go ahead. No, please go ahead.
Oh no, it was just it's the first part of the project. We just did we filmed the first 20 minutes about last year, and I'm looking to go on to the next section. It's hopefully we're going to try and sell it as a series.
Oh, cool.
So you did the screenwriting for this documentary then?
Yeah, so I did the screenwriting for it. I do some of the producing for it as well, and some of the promotion along with our media people, Margaret Fontana. She's a great social media person who does all the Instagram and Facebooking and all that other stuff.
All of the things that are out there in the digital wasteland, shall we say.
So,
right, exactly.
So I'm kind of curious, and I speak purely out of ignorance because I just don't know. What's the difference in the kind of screenwriting that you have to do between like working on a documentary versus working on a piece of fiction? Because I figure with screenwriting, you're basically coming up with a script, I would imagine. But to do a documentary, I mean, that's supposed to be slice of life. So how do you what's the difference in the screenwriting technique for that?
Well, for the documentary, it's sort of asking questions and getting those questions written down for our moderator, which we start with. We have to ask questions. So we had two people in the. So we had a teacher, Rob Fiorello, and he ran one of the place called PEI Kids, which is one of where a lot of the kids go to and just hang out and kind of find a safe place type spot. So we spoke to him in the way I would feed him questions or ask him questions, and then he would get, like, I would write it down, he would take a look, and then he would pretty much ask the kids or respond to those questions. Same thing with our reporter. Our moderator was Adrienne Bankert. She's on Good Morning America, and she does. So I would feed her a bunch of questions. She would have them sit down and read them out and pretty much make it her own to a degree. It's not as technical as screenwriting because that's like word for word dialogue,
right?
Like that kind of deal. This was more like, we know we're going to film in this. It was called the Sam Naples Center. We know we're going to be there. We know we're going to have a bunch of a round table discussion per se, and then the moderator would get her questions that we would come up with, or I would come up with, and then she would kind of make it her own and just kind of make it where it was easy to speak to the kids and question them in a certain way.
Right, and I guess you got to come up with questions that spur dialogue and think of creative ways to ask the questions, I suppose.
Right, you don't want to insult anybody with this because it is really live. It is documenting, and you really are asking them, questions that it's a delicate subject in the first place.
Right.
So you just want to. But for the most part, like, we know, like, okay, we want to drive to the city and show the city. So kind of, you don't necessarily need to write that in a script form. We just kind of block it out and say, okay, we're going to be in a car and we're going to drive around the area. So that's kind of on the fly. It's still real, we don't know exactly every spot that the director of this guy Rob would take us to. So he would say, like, oh, I have a couple of places, and then we would just kind of go there. So it was a little bit on the fly, a little bit written down technically.
I would imagine that both types, as you said, doing a screenwriting for documentary versus a screenwriting for a fiction, and they each present their own unique sets of challenges. So with that, which one are you kind of finding more rewarding?
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's a good question. So I like fiction in general. Like when I finish a product like that, it's just all me, So like I feel really excited about that, when I'm done. Mm-hmm. With this, the project itself is more rewarding than the actual writing about it. I think it's just the idea of trying to get this out there, and that's another. It's just two different feelings, I think, for me.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Like I'm excited creatively when I do like I've written sci-fi films or scripts or mafia scripts or whatever, action films, and that's always feels good because it just comes out of your system a certain way. It's just like there's nobody else kind of in your head trying to except the psychosis that you got going on. There's no one else really telling you what needs to be done. Here, it's sort of with the documentary, it's definitely a little bit more structured because hey, we're gonna talk about this subject, and even though it's hard to figure out, it's a real challenge, and I don't know if it's hard for me to say that which one's more rewarding. I know at the end, probably Generation Change is the best project I've worked on. Mm-hmm. And it really affects other people.
Right.
and hopefully that puts us in a spot where people are actually, funding programs for kids where they're getting better books, where they're getting civic centers, where they're just getting the things that they need. So, like, for me, that's the end result on documentary, and that's exciting.
Yeah.
But it sounds like you still have that creative bug within you to, get these ideas out that are, purely internal at this point. So you're still out there writing the fiction scripts because it satisfies a particular need, while perhaps doing the documentaries. It's a satisfying two different desires, shall we say? It sounds like that's where you're coming from.
Oh yeah, no, definitely, it's a split way. I mean, I have to create something just for the fiction side. It's just in my nature. Like, I'll wake up in the middle of the night and be like, I got a great idea, and I'll write it down, and hopefully it's good. I don't know,
Right.
That morning, but that part is really good because you feel the creativity come through, and it's unfiltered. It's kind of a stream of consciousness when you first write this stuff.
Oh, heck, I know that, yeah.
Yeah. So, and you just, like, if you really like that, or if I like the script, when I first write it down, I'll keep at it and keep working on it and hoping that it's a good thing to go into production. With the documentary, I'm definitely love doing that piece, and it's new. It's just a new thing for me, which is great because it's challenging on so many different levels. There's just so much involved in creating it, and we've taken this step where, since Joe is from Trenton and grew up in Trenton, he's been able to get there and talk to, like, educators and public officials and get those people involved and behind the project that's going to benefit the city.
Right. So how are you funding this project that you're doing?
So for this one, for Generation Change, we're asking for donations for the most part. We created a non-for-profit, so it's called the James R. Halsey Foundation for the Arts, and typically what the idea is that people could donate to that spot, and then we could help teach kids and teach kids how to actually film, so we incorporate them into the project as well.
Ooh, nice.
So so youths from that area will be taught how to actually use a camera, write a script, edit the film, right? So we get them involved, and that's really how we're trying to raise money as well, to get that whole. Plus private donors, we're always looking for that, but the foundation is another key piece that will help provide funding for the rest of the film.
Right.
We got some private donations on the first section, the first 20 minutes.
So have you thought of any crowdsourcing?
Crowdfunding.
Or crowdfunding? Yeah, sorry, crowdsourcing.
Yeah, it just never really worked for us. We tried it on the fiction side. We didn't really try it on the documentary side. I tried crowdfunding for one of our films called Junkie Heaven, and just didn't take. So we rather build. I think our thought pattern now is just to build kind of an equity in the community, and try and say, like, hey, this is what we're trying to do. We want to make sure that kids get life skills, that they could use after they help film with us. Hopefully better the community, make awareness throughout the city, so other donations could actually go to those other places, like I mentioned,
right,
for schools, for both things.
Yeah. Well,
Nice.
crowdfunding is definitely it becomes a full-time job to manage that. It really is, and if you don't, it's difficult to manage.
Yeah.
So
that's the whole thing. We've had that.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sorry.
No, go ahead, please.
No. The whole project, it's just all full time. Like, we thought we were just going to be making, a documentary and move on, but when we found all these people that were really involved and wanted to be a part of it, it just kept on it is a full-time gig. We're just constantly in contact with people trying to raise money in a different way.
Right.
It's not necessarily Kickstarter, but
right.
Now, you touched on something a little bit earlier that I was interested in. You referred to it as building equity in the community. By helping these kids that you're working with, by teaching them how to work behind the camera, etc. Now, I understand that in addition to all of this, you have just started teaching as well.
Yeah, so that's another cool aspect of what's been going on it's all brought out from the film company. It's just that we've been building so much, so many things and meeting so many people. There was a request at one point at this Sam Naval Center to kind of say, like, hey, would you teach, some of the kids, on how to make some films. So since I actually live pretty far away from the group, my partner Joe is doing all the film stuff. So he'll show them how to use a camera and things like that. But then I'll come in and I'll teach them how to write a script. So it's another piece, and it's great because it just gives these kids like an opportunity on how to really learn a skill, and that's the main point, right? And hopefully get a job with it after. Now, I write a lot of different things. So for me, like, it's not just screenwriting. Even though I'm teaching them how to do film, I could also teach them how to write like press releases, stories, like become a reporter, things like that can, or advertising copy, things like that. So it could get them in that groove of like, oh, well, there's so many things we could try to do and maybe get a job. Oh, I like advertising, so let me, go in there and try and write a creative piece.
Yeah, some good general life skills.
Yeah, that's the idea, and I know some of the, they teach how to write a resume. I could teach that sort of thing as well. So, but for the most part, we're teaching the screenwriting because that's what they're interested in.
Right.
But, I offer, all those kind of things to the kids. They could pretty much pick my brain for anything.
Right.
How well was it received?
It was received well. They really were into it. It depends on the class, right? So this class is very specific on how they wanted to just film a short. They just wanted to do a short film, and they wanted to get the writing done quick. And, I would have to tell them how the process is and say, like, it's not as fast as you think,
Right.
So, this new class, there's a bunch of writers in it. They want to learn the process a little bit more. They don't necessarily need to run to the short film aspect of it. So, but either way, it's just good. It's for me, it's teaching pretty much the first time, really, and it's fun and just challenging. So
when do you expect that you might have this documentary or series filmed and ready to release some portions of that, or do you have any idea at this point?
Well, we have some of it. We have some of it on. So we have clips on YouTube. You can go on 713 Film and check that out. And so there's clips there. We have about the first 20 minutes. That's done. We've been kind of showing that around, pitching it and stuff. And now it's really just at the point where we believe we have some funds coming in from donors, and some grants we applied for are coming through. So we'll probably be filming within the next month or two.
Cool.
And that'll be just the next section. So we're just constantly, trying to raise money and film as much as we can.
Yeah.
But we keep on coming out with clips. So there's clips.
Yeah, I assume those clips and what you have on YouTube have helped to bring donors in and get people interested in the project and try to help in some way.
Yeah, it's been huge. I mean, the YouTube piece is great. Last year, we were lucky enough our film company was lucky enough to be the subject of a class at Rider University in New Jersey.
Okay.
So the students had created, I guess, our marketing for us, right? And they created an event at the end where we showed our 20 minutes to a bunch of the college kids, a bunch of people from Trenton. We were able to get, so there was a mayoral election going on in Trenton at the time. So we were able to get the candidates down to the event and have about 20 kids. Yeah, it was cool. We had 20 kids, ask them questions about how they would better the city.
Wow.
So if they were elected, it was a really big event. It was great.
That's great.
So it's just how it's happening. The awareness is out there. It's happening, and an event like from Rider University, and it was pretty exciing.
Well, that's cool.
Fantastic. I just have one last question that's kind of been nagging at me. This is sort of a cheat question, I guess. But if you had your druthers, what kind of story / script screenwriting would you like to do? You know, genre, etc. I'm just really curious.
Oh, the genre. I like sci-fi, man. If I could do sci-fi with the budget, I would totally do it.
Yeah. Well, we're big sci-fi nerds.
Yeah, I was hoping you were going to say that. So.
Well, our film Junkie Heaven kind of has a little sci-fi in it. It's about as much as our budget would allow.
Right.
But I almost did a film called Space Sharks. That was kind of cool. We were in production and everything. Eventually, it fell apart, but it was about we were building this space station. It was awesome. We had a great script. We had sort of a distribution lined up, but eventually we just lost some of the funding. But it was going to have an epic space battle and the whole thing. So,
wow.
With the sharks. It was
great. Sharknado in space.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, no,
On that note.
yeah, ridiculous, but it was fun.
Hey, you know, some of that stuff is kind of, it's cheesy and crazy, but it's a lot of fun.
Sharknado became, my God.
What are they on, Sharknado 99 now or something?
Like that. I mean, now they need to go into space. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, you know, look into the future. Sharks have evolved. They become the dominant species of the planet Earth, and now they can exist in a vacuum.
Yeah. Right.
How's that for a story?
It was great. Well, it's a good story. I mean, I had to figure out how sharks were going to live in space in the first place.
Yeah.
Yes.
I had this whole technical.
Uh-huh.
I had a whole technical thing that was going on with it. It was great. It was just they have some kind of symbiotic relationship with some kind of worm or something.
Oh.
And that was going to be their fuel.
Oh, cool.
To get them moving.
Oh, very nice. Well, on that note, you've obviously got your fingers in a lot of pies right now, especially this documentary. For people who want to know more about you, know about what you're working on, know more about 713, where can they find all of that? I mean, obviously, some social media presence, because you mentioned that you got someone who's handling your social media. How can people find out more about you and all that you're working on?
Oh, okay. So, yeah, you got 713 Films on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all those great places. To find out more about me, I guess, same thing, Facebook. I got my own website. It's Likolinsky.wix. So you could go there. And then you can see all the movies we did. If you go to Amazon and just type in my name, Lee Kolinsky, you'll find a whole bunch of movies there. And you'll find Send No Flowers and this one Junkie Heaven and a couple others. And I would say 713 Films is probably the best place to go.
So is it on Twitter? Is it at 713 Films?
Yeah, 713 Films. Yeah. Oh, so it's spelled 7 spelled out and 13 is the number.
Okay.
All righty.
So I know it's confusing.
That's okay.
Yeah.
Going there right now.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There we are.
Yeah, so you found us? All right. Good.
Yeah. Cool. So thank you for being on the show with us and telling us about this project. This sounds like a really exciting project. I want to get some more details on that so that we can publish that when we do this episode. So,
oh, cool.
Lee Kolinsky, thank you. Thank you for being on the show this time.
Oh, thank you.
Hi, I'm Patricia Chica, director, producer, and here you are listening to my favorite podcast, the Two Gay Geeks. Oh, yeah.
Well, that was was a really fascinating interview with Lee.
Well, and not just
and
that,
especially-
it's a form of, I guess you could say he's giving back to the youth.
Community
service in a
service
way.
and public service announcement, the whole 9 yards.
Yeah.
It's really great.
I think what he's doing is great.
I think it's great. And here's a few selected birthdays for March 4th through March 10th, 2019. March 4th, Chaz Bono and Antonio Vivaldi, who is a composer that kind of changed the face of Baroque music. Well, there's several that have done that. I mean, but he was a very prolific composer. Chris Squire, another composer.
Of Yes.
Of Yes.
Formerly of Yes.
Yes. Well, he's only formerly of Yes because he died.
Well, he's playing with that great gig in the sky to use the Pink Floyd reference.
Yeah. Also on March 4th, Kristen Rowan with the Phoenix,
Rowan and Martin.
Yeah, Phoenix Fan Fusion. And Justin Reed. March 5th, Jake Lloyd, Matt Lucas, Penn Gillette, Andy Gibb, Heitor Villalobos, who is a Latin American composer. He composed some really incredible music. Check him out sometime. March 6th, Michelangelo, Rob Reiner, and David Gilmour.
Speaking of Pink Floyd.
Yeah, and not playing in the Great Gig in the Sky.
Not yet.
Not yet. Also, Jenny Presnell and Claire O'Leary, one of our very first listeners. March 7th, Rachel Weisz and Wanda Sykes, or I should say Rachel Weisz and Wanda Sykes.
I wasn't going to say anything.
March 8th, Aidan Quinn, Mickey Dolenz, Sid Charisse, and Carl Philip Emanuel Bach. That should say Bach, not back.
Damn you, autocorrect.
Exactly. CPE Bach was the most prolific of Bach's children. Oh, my gosh.
What, not PDQ?
Oh, no. Oh, my gosh. You should see the amount of material he produced. And he did change the face of Baroque music. March 9th, Bobby Fischer, famed chess... Madman, yes. And he wrote a book, and my grandmother gave me that when I was very young to teach me how to play chess so that I could beat my dad someday.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oscar Isaac, Samuel Barber, Marge Ryder, a friend of ours from way back. Forever. Grace Unger of Tuck Shop, and Karen Clark Foth, who was a high school classmate of mine. March 10th, Olivia Wilde and Mr. David Hunter, friend of ours from the Mice Chat group and many Mice Chat cruises on the Disney Cruise Line. And that's it for the birthdays this time.
Hi, this is Barbara Dillon, one of the co-hosts of Fanbase Press's flagship podcast, The Fanbase Weekly. During the Fanbase Weekly podcast, the co-hosts and I discuss the top geek news stories of the week. In each episode, we are joined by special guests from all across the pop culture spectrum to get their take on what's happening in geekdom. Past guests have included Jeffrey Thorne, writer of Leverage and The Librarians, DC All Access's Jason Inman, Debbie Lynn Smith of Chimera Press, Xena Warrior Princess executive producer Stephen L. Sears, Ashley V. Robinson of Geek History Lessons, and many, many more. Join us for an episode of the podcast that celebrates fandoms on a weekly basis. A new episode of the Fanbase Weekly is released every Monday. Be sure to subscribe to us on iTunes or look for the podcast at fanbasepress.com.
Go give a listen to our good friends Barbara and Bryant over at Fanbase Weekly. You can find them at Fanbase Press, and they have produced a ton of stuff for independent creators.
They're rapidly becoming
a powerhouse.
Well, a major powerhouse.
Yeah.
You know, it's almost like they're transitioning from being this independent warehouse to being something equivalent to like 20th Century Fox for presses. You know?
There you go. And now, what time is it? it's time for feedback.
You need a reverb. Okay, so starting off, Ben's Breakdown, a new discovery with Star Trek short takes, something I wrote a little while ago. Got a comment from Tom Alred Gulbranson. I love when Tom writes us. He says, I love this show. The short treks were awesome. My favorites were the ones with Saru and the Calypso one. Then we got a comment from Bill Hensley, old friend of Keith's, and he said, good summary. I like 2 of the 4 short treks as they're pretty good for character advancement. I like the Tilly segment in particular. It's a nice standalone story tied to the Discovery timeline. And I would say I think Tilly was my favorite of the 4 of them. I liked all 4, but Tilly was my favorite.
Yep.
And then he said, Runaway was interesting as a story, but the question of how the ship got to that point was a bigger question. And I wrote that. I said, what happened? I mean, it was interesting, but yeah, something happened between what would be the end of Discovery and that. I'd like to know what that was. One plot hole for me, if the ship has become essentially sentient, why hasn't she decided to head out and try to go home? Simple. The answer to that, she was told to stay there.
Yeah.
She was given an order.
Right.
The Saru backstory, I just don't buy it. Taking a single being off the planet after finding out that one sentient race was eating another sentient race, I think would have led the Federation to do something. Okay.
Well,
you're halfway there.
Here we go.
You're halfway there. I do think it's a little weird that Saru got taken off the planet. That one does seem a little weird just because he was able to back engineer or reverse engineer some communication devices and get picked up. But as far as the rest, Federation won't get involved. Prime Directive. Sorry. I know that sounds weird, but Gene would have screamed about that one if they had.
Although well, I'm not going to say anything about this season of Discovery.
Not yet.
Not yet.
Not yet. I would recommend the Discovery showrunners take the mud short to the nearest degausser and use the storage for something useful. Ouch!
Wow,
Ouch!
yeah.
Of the 3 times, including this one, that we had mud, that was my favorite. I couldn't stand mud in the second time with the time traveling, that was kind of fun. But when we first meet him, I hated it. Thought it was terrible. I thought this really felt more like mud. It was very funny.
Yeah.
He said, I had hoped that the second season of Discovery would be a complete reboot of the series. Well, in a sense it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like they've completely, for the most part, I mean, they touched on the first season a little bit. Season 1 to me is better ignored. I
don't agree. Don't disagree with you there.
Yeah, no argument there. I can easily be accused of being too wedded to canon. You're in good company. But it's more than that. The 2 stories were just not interesting to me. Okay, to each their own. And then we got a comment from Arkle. Now try and follow this one, people. Disappointing, especially since I really like Tilly. Amazing, the best of the bunch. Pretty good, and Doug Jones was as fantastic as usual. Enjoyable, with a decent twist at the end, but if you already don't like Rainn Wilson's mud, you probably won't like it. And if you haven't guessed, each one of those sentences is a direct reference to one of the Star Trek short takes.
Yep.
So that was from Arkle. Now, also, there's another breakdown. Gosh, I was busy.
Yeah.
I got a breakdown, 3-episode thoughts on the discovery of witches. Got a comment from Craig Engler on Instagram. I should point out, Craig Engler is a general manager for Shudder, the horror streaming service.
Yeah.
And he says, thanks for the great review. And then lastly, another one this is one of my gay breakdowns for the movie Shared Rooms. And we got a comment from Alec Manley Wilson, who was in the movie, had one of the starring roles in the movie, and he wrote back to me on Instagram and says, you obviously have exquisite taste. Thanks for the review. And that is our feedback for this week.
And you can leave comments on our Facebook page and like that Facebook page. It's TG Geeks, TG Squared Studios on Facebook, because we post all of our articles there. You can comment there. You can comment on our website, tggeeks.com, our YouTube episodes, our Instagram, our Twitter, and even over on our MySpace page.
When are we going to start doing that?
We have a MySpace page.
We do. We just haven't done squat with it yet.
Exactly. We also have a listener feedback line that you can leave us a voicemail, and that will be played on air, and that number is 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. And as always, please play nice.
I'm Michelle Romano, and I love the Two Gay Geeks.
I need a Nemo.
I need a Nemo.
Nemo. What?
What? I was trying to channel my inner Bonnie Tyler. You can tell how badly that was done.
This thing just goes on forever and ever and ever.
Yeah, it doesn't end.
It just goes on.
Hey, it's
you can
Jim
talk over
Steinman.
it.
It is Jim Steinman. The man only knew how to write epic.
It's in the vein of Jim Steinman.
Well, that's true. That's
it's
true.
Not his.
It's not really.
Or
him.
we'd have to really pay money for it.
Yeah, it's in the vein of Jim Steinman. So the person is trying to go for the epic.
Exactly. So this is our second segment, and I'm just kind of letting it play underneath there because it just goes on. It's like a 4-minute segment.
Holy cow!
Of the same thing over and over again.
Oh, well, that gets a little tedious. Then you might as well just turn it off.
See?
Yeah.
Anyway, we want to this kind of as a little bit of a shout out because we were out yesterday running some errands, and we needed to do some unfortunately necessary shopping, and wound up at Men's Wearhouse at the Phoenix Colonnade. And I just have to say thanks to everybody that works there, every single person. Bruce Diaz, the manager, waited on us, and we got a couple of things that we needed. And
yes, because we might be making some high-profile appearances in the coming year, or at least next year.
Yeah, so we were in the market for a couple of things, and he kind of saw us waiting because when we walked in, there were like four
wedding parties.
4 wedding parties in the store.
I mean, nobody was
oh my
just
gosh,
kicking back or relaxing. Everybody was very, very busy.
Yeah,
so we were, that's okay.
It was just kind of crazy in there, and he finally made his way over to us, and
he was bouncing back and forth between us and somebody else.
He said, let me just say hi to you and get you on the list, and then I'll bounce back and forth until we get this other customer taken care of. It's just about done. But everybody was busy, and finally, by the time we left, everybody had cleared out but 1 or 2 people. So they were busy day.
Talking about timing.
So thank you to them, and thank you to all of the guys that worked there that were interested in our podcast, and just to give a big shout out to the Men's Wearhouse at Phoenix Colonnade.
Yeah, and actually they have some really good merchandise, to be
Oh my
honest.
gosh,
I mean,
yeah.
It may seem high priced, but they've always got sales going on. So, I know this isn't supposed to turn into a Men's Wearhouse commercial, but
no, but oh my gosh, I had never experienced Men's Wearhouse before. So,
that's my second time, and both times they were amazing.
So yeah, thank you to them. And then now,
this is something that's really funny because this is a movie that came out and literally did so underneath our radar.
Yeah, well, for various reasons. And then we decided to see it one afternoon, and
it was before the Academy Awards.
Yeah.
And it's important that we say that because this movie actually won an award.
Yeah, so we were there. I loved the film on the first watching, and you
I was tired.
The first sleeping.
Well, I should point out. Okay, let's tell people what we're talking about.
Yeah,
we're talking about Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse.
Yes.
Now, this, like I said, this movie came out completely underneath our radar. Yes, I fell asleep, but there was a really good reason why. I had a medical appointment that morning, which required fasting, and then I really overcarbed during lunch, and I passed out. I had a carb crash. But I've had a chance to rewatch it since then.
Yeah.
So I think this movie is amazing.
I think it is absolutely incredible. The voice talent is
I
incredible.
love the voice talent in this movie.
The animation is wow. It's over the top. Mm-hmm. And the story is a great story. It has some good messages.
As you said many times in the past, you're not really all well versed in comic book characters.
No.
And yet the story was told so well that you were able to just latch onto it without any problem.
Absolutely. And that's the good thing about good superhero comic book storytelling, is to be able to tell the story so that you can dive in without having any experience, but not feel pandered to, and not have the comic book people that know the stories feel like they're being, just lectured at.
Right. Like like they're not taking Spider-Man 101 kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. But it was a great film, great messages for adults, great messages for young people, great messages just all around. I thought it was great.
I think the Marvel movies, whether they are animated, well, this is not Marvel. Actually, this was Sony. Sony Animation did this.
Right.
Obviously, because they still have some ownership to the Spider-Man property.
But it was in association with Marvel. So
but in association with Marvel.
Might have had a little bit of, consulting on the story.
It might have been there. In any event, I thought the movie was just amazing. And I love how they tell these characters in such a way that you really become invested in them.
Absolutely.
I mean, I really began to care about Miles, and I really cared about Peter Parker, and I cared about Gwen. I cared about all of them, including Spider-Ham.
Spider-Pig. Or
Spider-Ham.
Spider-Ham, sorry.
Yeah. I cared about all of them.
Spider-Pig.
Thank you, Homer Simpson. I cared about every one of them, and everybody there actually has some presence in the Spider-Man comic. I mean, even Spider-Man Noir was there. I mean, it's amazing stuff. I thought it was fantastic, and I would love to see them attempt it again.
Yeah, I do too.
I think there's a lot of story to be told.
They should do another Miles Morales, story. Well, they left it open-ended.
They really did. I would like to see more. I really would. I thought it was amazing. So if you haven't checked it out, do so. It's still in theaters, and yet it is still. You can actually now get it on home video. Because I just bought it on iTunes the other day.
Yeah. We also need to talk about Arizona Opera's production of Silent Night.
Oh, boy.
Oh, my gosh. That
was emotionally intense.
It really was. If you're not familiar with the opera, it's a 20th century opera. It's a recent opera from 2011, and it's called Silent Night, and it takes place during World War I. The piece that the opposing forces had for one night on Christmas Eve.
There was a ceasefire.
Ceasefire.
It was just in this one little area of the battle.
Yep.
And it's very touching.
Yeah, it is.
To see how that all came about. It's a beautiful. The production was amazing, and the voices were phenomenal.
It was
Holy
absolutely
cow.
wonderful. It was a great evening.
I was very impressed with it.
Yeah, and the music was not off-putting or anything.
It's not 12-tone.
And it's not atonal.
No, it has moments of atonality, but there are other moments that are very beautifully melodic.
Well, that's intentional too.
Yeah, it fits the story.
It fits the story in the places that it needs to. But it was a really great story, a great piece. So if you have the opportunity to see Silent Night, please do so.
It's wonderful. I loved it.
Yep.
I'm Daniel Radcliffe, and I believe that reaching out for help is the bravest thing a person can do. If you are struggling and need support, call the Trevor Lifeline at 1-866-488-7386. It's free and confidential, and trained counsellors are there to listen 24/7 without judgment. To learn more about the Trevor Project's life-saving work for lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, or questioning young people, go to thetrevorproject.org.
And if you are trans or questioning about trans or are in crisis, please check out the Trans Lifeline. The hotline is in the U.S. 877-565-8860, and in Canada 877-330-6366, or check out translifeline.org. Oh my gosh, what a busy week we had.
No kidding.
Busy.
Very busy week.
Wow.
Starting with Sunday, February 24th. There was Dr. Zombie, Monster Family Physician number 37.
Wow.
Also, we had an article, The 5 Feet Apart trailer. That movie will be in theaters March 15th. And then also, this was hot.
This was
really,
great.
really
Oh my gosh.
hot.
Yeah.
Roman Media's 5th annual Hollywood event. This was TG Geeks special coverage.
And we want to say a huge thank you to Devette and Rob C. for covering that for us out in L.A. They did a fabulous job.
It was a red carpet,
carpet.
Event, and it was phenomenal.
Yeah.
You need to check this article out. It is fantastic.
Yeah,
because
and-
they actually got to interview a couple of people that from a short film that
Yep.
won Best Short.
Yep, best short film called Skin.
Yep.
And they had most of the cast there, so that was kind of a serendipitous thing.
Oh, we were thrilled when we were watching the Oscars and it won.
Absolutely, yeah.
But check it out. It is really exciting to see the different video interviews that are there. We loved it.
Yep.
Then moving on to Monday, February 25th, TG Geeks Webcast episode 210. Also, there was a press release. Virgin Galactic makes space higher and faster. It's a very interesting science article. Then on Tuesday, February 26th, Ben's gay breakdown for the movie At the End of the Day. Some people might remember the interview we had with Kevin O'Brien.
Yeah, in fact, that was in 210 the day before.
Right. Very good. Yes. And then there was a press release for, this is a weird one. Catsbury Park announces musical performances, including The Love Cats, featuring members of Gaslight Anthem and The Loved Ones. People, you need to read this. It is just bizarre, but it's a good cause.
Yeah, well, and I had run a press release for the Catsbury Park thing here several weeks ago, a month ago or so.
But it's fascinating. But as I said in the article, it's not safe for work. One of the videos is pretty racy. So, yeah, but check it out. Also, this week in home entertainment, Ralph Breaks the Internet and The Little Mermaid. Then on Wednesday, February 27th, Bohemian Rhapsody strikes again. This time, Jeannie's Yaps.
Yeah.
Jeannie Koch takes a stab at giving a review on that. Also, we have a trailer for The OA Part 2. That will be in Netflix on March 22nd. And then on Thursday the 28th, Andrea's Angle comes back with Netflix Umbrella Academy, calling it quirky and bold. Also, she has a review for the movie Greta, a twisted thriller but lacks suspense. And then another one of my breakdowns, this one caught me by surprise, a short film called Tom and Grant.
Oh, my God.
Jazz hands, people. Jazz hands.
No, it's...
No. Well, I'm not saying what it really is. No.
You have to check this thing out.
You
will
see it.
laugh.
It stars Grant Gustin and Tom Cavanaugh of The Flash. You need to see this short. It is hilarious. It's genius. You almost choked on your pizza the night you watched it. And then on Friday, March 1st, New Sushi number 52, Morsels of News from Japan and Beyond.
1 year of New Sushi.
Yahoo!
Thank you to Hamish. Yeah.
And then, hey, Game Geek Introduction, Aaron's Arcade of Words.
Yes, that was Aaron's first entry into our contributors collection, shall we say.
And she has been writing like a madman.
Yeah, and that was actually her birthday, too.
Happy birthday.
Yeah.
And then Saturday, March 2nd, Ruben Brandt, Collector, is a true original Priest of Bones by Peter McLean, and that's one of Rose
Those are two different ones.
Not the way that she wrote it on that article.
No. That's two different articles.
Oh, it is two different articles?
Yes.
Oh, boy, I couldn't tell. Well, I didn't put it together. You did. Okay, so Ruben Brandt, Collector, is a true original, is one?
Is one.
Okay, and then Priest of Bones by Peter McLean, Roe reads.
Yes. So she read both of those books and did reviews on them.
Okay.
You can find all of these articles at tggeeks.com, as well as the entries on our Facebook page, where you can see everything that we post. It goes up there. You can comment on it. You can comment on tggeeks.com. Please visit the website and read the articles, listen to our podcast, do all of the neat stuff, and you can comment and just be supportive. And as always, we have our follow-up items. We're huge supporters of independent creators, as you all know. And it's filmmakers, comic book artists, writers, artists, everything. We love independent creators. They produce some incredible stuff. Please buy their stuff, and if you at a con have cash for them, please support independent creators.
Special shout out to The Human Arkle. Arkle, Brian Weber, you heard some feedback from him earlier. He puts out the Arkle Times Post-Dispatch News, and they republish our content from time to time. So check that out. You can find it by going to Twitter, searching Arkle, A-R-K-L-E. Also, he has the Shameless Cash Grab on YouTube. You just have to go to youtube.com/user/Arkle Studios. That's all
I
one
think
word.
episode 5 is out now.
All right. And then must give a special shout out to a couple of Facebook groups for allowing us to post our episodes and relevant articles on their pages. First, Two Gay Geeks After Hours. Big thanks to the moderators for literally saying, and I quote, "share away." They actually said that to me. And their URL is facebook.com/group/Gay Geeks After Hours. And then to The Gay Geek for allowing us to share our stuff on their page. And the URL is facebook.com/group/The Gay Geek. Special thanks to moderator Jeremiah Reeves. And I would like to say that his was the first. Now there's like gay geek groups all over Facebook now. I mean, they're everywhere.
It's great. Thanks, Jeremiah. And lastly, we can be found on Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher, Anchor, as well as all the places other fine podcasts can be found. Also, check us out on Krypton Radio at 3 a.m. and 3 p.m. Pacific Time on Tuesdays, and listen to their other content. They're the 24-hour geeky, nerdy internet radio station. Please rate us and review us on iTunes, and don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Next week, we're going to have an interview with, we're going to have an interesting interview. We'll just leave it at that. So check it out next week. Okay, that should do it for this episode of TG Geeks Webcast. Be sure to check out the article for this episode. We're going to have several links on the page of things we talked about. And remember, you can comment on our Facebook page or at our website, tggeeks.com. Or you can leave us a voicemail, 469-TG-GEEKS. That is 469-844-3357. From TG Squared Studios, I'm Keith Lane. Thanks for listening. Please be kind to yourself and those around you. Peace.
Cheers.